This.
It is my honor to introduce
Principles of Passion. Principles of Passion. Chris Thomas.
Great moments are born from great opportunity.
I followed my passion.
I have a dream.
And Dominic Semino.
You better come to work.
This is it.
Perfection.
With special guest, former NFL player and current president of Midwest Prep Academy, Marcus Sullivan.
Just keep going. Find that thing you love. If you can find that thing that really gives you joy, that'll be it.
My favorite quote: I want to change mindsets to erase stereotypes. That is profound. And that's my mission in life.
Are you ready?
It's Principles of Passion.
Come on, sucker. Let's get it on.
Hey, yo. Welcome.
Happy Tuesday.
Welcome. Happy Tuesday. Thank y'all for joining us. This is Principles of Passion, episode number 18. The journey ensues and continues. First off, I'm very appreciative for Marcus Sullivan sharing his time with us, former NFL lineman and president of Midwest Prep Academy. Thank you for joining the show, Marcus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And as always, Dominic Semino, my co-host.
Pleasure.
Thank you. So today we're talking about life and it being a game and a test. And so I thought, who better than to come on than someone who has played the game of life, but then also had the opportunity to monetize that a little bit in a professional sport. So, Marcus, tell us a little bit about kind of what you've done, what you're doing now, and what appeals to you most, about a show like this.
Okay. Well, what I've done, I had an opportunity at an early age to fall in love with the game of football, and it taught me a lot of life lessons through playing the game, and took that love and that passion for that game, and as you mentioned, essentially monetized it. It paid for my college tuition. Got an opportunity to play in the NFL for several years, and the games took me around the world. So very much blessed to be able to play the game. But now I'm in a situation where I've learned, from the opportunities that I had playing the game and sharing that with young people now, so especially people that essentially aspire to utilize sports to do whatever. I make it a point to teach young men to first and foremost respect the game and love the game if they have a passion for it, and then utilize it to get the education paid for it. So what I'm currently doing now, started a post-grad prep academy. So what that does is essentially give young men an opportunity to get a developmental year after they graduate high school. Because a lot of these young people just, their school situation or the athletic situation may be under-resourced. The light bulb may have went on a little late. Coach was in the air a number of years. You need to do this, you need to do that. Light bulb didn't come on late, so they kind of get a makeup year with us to kind of get their stuff together, and then we help them to get into college the following year. So been very successful with that, getting young men into school, going on year 6 doing this. So, very blessed to be able to work with these young people and kind of share some of the experiences that myself and also our, we work with a number of young men that, have similar backgrounds to myself. We have 3 other former NFL players on staff. So it's great to be able to show the young men not only that we've reached that pinnacle of the game, but, none of us played 10 years, like you'll see, 15 years. We played 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And then we had to go do something else, right. So we show these young people, it's great to make it, but, NFL does not stand for National Football League. It stands for not for long. You got to kind of figure out what you're going to do after that. You can't, and the game abruptly ends for, 99% of the people that play it. They don't leave on their terms, So, when you kind of get hit in the face with that, you got to fight through adversity and go do something else. So
Yeah.
So I gotta ask about so like, what made you transition over to a different skill tree? Like, so you hopped out of the NFL and went over to this. What?
right, not necessarily a different skill tree. I have a degree in sport management.
Okay.
So I always wanted to transition into something sport related.
So
Which
it was
I'm
always
doing.
like in the back of your head.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Initially getting into the program in college at U of I. My mind was kind of set on perhaps being an AD or a GM of a whatever. But I'm doing this now and I love it. It allows me to be a business owner. Control my own destiny, and I'm certainly not going to fire myself. So. There's nothing better than working for yourself. It's tough as heck, but I wouldn't give it up for anything. So
That's awesome, dude.
appreciate it, man.
For sure. And I like the last part you said just about overcoming adversity.
Oh yeah.
And I think that anyone I was talking with a gentleman today, he wants to go and play basketball after high school. And
Sure.
I said, live the dream, do it, but really do it. Like really put in that grind to do it. And that's not doing it a couple days a week. That's doing it 3 times a day, if you really want to put in that work. So, I mean, I commend you for putting that grind just to make it to such an elite league. And then even when you're done, taking it to that next step of being able to help people that want to do the same. So just commend you for that. I know you and I were talking a couple days ago, you and I, we went to high school together, but I don't think we had it tough. I think we saw some people that had it tough and areas that had it tough. What would you say to someone that hasn't had it so tough, but that's still, kind of struggling, finding out what that vision looks like for them, in this game of life?
Yeah, it's all about passion. You have to discover what your passion is. And once you define what that is and discover what that is, it makes it a lot easier. Of course, there's going to be roadblocks, naysayers, all of that. But, once you have a clear goal in front of you, I think that makes it a lot easier. You certainly face adversity throughout the course of your life, but I have to say I haven't had any extreme adversity that I see a lot of other people have to overcome, but my adversity came with pursuing my dreams, so, you may have a setback one day or, somebody gets on you or, just didn't go your way. You have to, keep focused and understand that this is a grind. And I did a lot of research when I was young. We didn't have the internet. We had that AOL dial-up. That took forever
Get
to
a
come
phone
on.
call, it's all
Yeah,
over
man.
with.
But luckily I went to a lot of camps. I got put in front of a lot of people that are already doing what I want to do, and I listened. I really did. I really wanted to pursue. Not necessarily go to the NFL, but just pursue my passion of the game, play the game. And, I personally my goal was just to be the very best that I can be, not necessarily playing the NFL. Because I think a lot of young people that I deal with, their goal is, most of these kids I talk to, they want to go Division I. I'm like, okay, that's fine, or they want to go to the NFL. And they ask me, how did you get there? I'm like, well, the best thing to do is just to be the best you can be. Like you said, are you maximizing your potential? Are you working every day towards your goals?
Right. Yeah. I think to your point of naysayers, I think we do that a lot is we listen to what people are saying versus focusing on like what's truly deep down and what we really like or strive to be passionate about.
Yeah, I agree. But I think later in life, I came to a realization there are no haters. Of course, people are going to naysay and do this and do that. But, if you block that out, if you kind of channel in and focus on what you need to focus on, that stuff just goes in one ear and out the other. People that are usually naysaying and say you can't do this haven't done anything that you are trying to accomplish. So why even listen to that?
Yeah.
You know, so I just try not to. I try to block that out. And it's certainly tough when you're a young person to do that. I
Dude,
understand.
yeah, and it's crazy too because sometimes, the naysayers could even be yourself. It can be yourself holding you back.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. You know, you certainly, when you kind of hit that wall and you kind of doubt yourself,
Yeah.
you
It's a whole
want
new
to
enemy.
quit. Yeah, I agree with that. I think your biggest competition is, that reflection staring back at you in the mirror, honestly, so.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So there's a lady named Rochelle Goodridge, and she has a book called Smile Anyway, and there was a quote that I liked. It says, "Life is a puzzle, a riddle, a test, a mystery, a game. Whatever challenge you wish to compare it to, just remember, you're not the only participant.
Yeah.
No one person holds all the answers, the pieces, or the cards. The trick to success in this life is to accumulate teammates and not opponents." That's so powerful to me because of the synergistic approach that I'm trying to take with this nonprofit and the collaborative and synergistic approach we're trying to take with Purpose Workforce Solutions. There's a lot of outlets, social media-wise, for people to voice, I think, their opinions on. I think what's kind of important now is, like, how do you separate that from what you like and what you do and what they say and they do? And then how do you start to lean towards the right support system?
I really like that, especially the part about teammates. I talk to my guys all the time. In sports, family is a big war cry or whatever, but I'm like, family can let you down. Family is not always looking in the same direction you're trying to go. Some family members may try to hold you back. When you're part of a team, you're all trying to accomplish the same goal. So essentially, we may not be family, but we're still striving to accomplish our dreams and our goals out here. And I tell them, family is great. Have that bond, but at the end of the day, teammates keep you accountable. Family not necessarily doesn't do that all of the time.
Yeah. And I think, too, when we meet people, I was with Quentin Love today, and he said, you're always interviewing when you walk down the street, right? Because we had like 10 people in there, like, hey, when does the interview start? And they were like, oh, we don't know what time. He's like, no, it starts now. It started before you walked in. You're always interviewing. And so I say that to say, I think if people understood that more, then they would be trying to collaborate with people more versus walking down the street and turning your nose up or turning your shoulder or turning your head or not taking in what someone says truly because either A, you're intimidated or B, your confidence level isn't high enough to deal with someone being different than you. But I think that those differences and being open to those differences is what allows us to collaborate more. And like, I don't see that many people doing that. Do you know what I mean? What do you think?
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm walking down the street,
Yeah.
I usually don't get a look or a hello. It's more, I feel that they're intimidated, but I'm a pretty easygoing guy. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
So how do you, when it comes to something being a test, how do you redefine your thought process on it and change it from a challenge or a problem to being a test? And like, what does that mindset change actually do for you, or how can that benefit you?
Great question. I think the key is preparation. I think if you are prepared for a particular situation, you're more equipped to go into that situation. And when something essentially fails, you see that more as a test as opposed to when you are unprepared, you fail and then, it's a problem, it's a setback or, I'm never going to rebound from this. So I'd say whenever I've essentially, not accomplished what I want to accomplish at the time, it's essentially because of lack of preparation. You know, I feel when I'm prepared and I know that I've done my best to, go up against a challenge or a test, and I fail, I know I gave it all my all. So I know how to essentially fix what I need to fix. In case that happens again. But if I go into a situation unprepared, then you essentially have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Part of that preparation too is, okay, what's the vision? Like if you're passionate about something,
Oh, of course.
you're passionate about baseball. What does that mean? Does that mean you play baseball 5 days a week, or does that mean you watch it 5 days a week? So
Yeah.
if you're truly passionate, what's the vision, and then what's the plan to get to that vision? It's definitely a combination of both. Absolutely. So one thing that I know that I'm struggling with, and I'm talking with some of the students that we're placing, and I struggle with helping them dig deeper into what their why is, right? And not just the why in terms of like why you do the things you do and what you want to be, but the why in terms of why you even react to certain things. Like, what's some advice you would give to some young folks out there about uncovering what that why looks like? And Dom, feel free to jump in too.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I feel like that's very subjective. Like, it all depends on the person. You could give advice to everyone. You could give the same advice to everyone, but everyone's going to take it different ways. So I'd say general knowledge is the best thing to give someone. But other than that, you can't really guide someone in strict lines of how to do something.
Yeah, I think that young people just misuse the information online on the internet. That'll take you anywhere. It'll give you any piece of information that you want. When you essentially utilize it just for entertainment purposes or just to keep you idle or, busy while you're idle, I try to get young people to get out of that. If you perhaps have a, inkling or interest in something, do some research on it. It's right in front of you. We were younger, we had to go to the library. You don't have to, you don't essentially have to go to the library and take out books and sit there and read. And, you literally can have any type of information you want with a matter of seconds, So you develop your why by information. If you particularly have a certain interest in something and you want to find out more about it, get off Snapchat, Google, whatever that is, and read about it. And I think that'll open your eyes to a lot of possibilities out there. It hurts me to see that the internet's probably the biggest invention in a long, long time, and it's just being underutilized by young people.
Yep, it is. It is. Yeah, I mean, they have the phone, they have all the resources.
Have all the
and
resources.
They don't know what to do with it. That amazing, powerful tool, they don't utilize it. And part of it is disseminating between the good information and the bad information.
The content, yeah.
But just go find some information and, weed through after that. I think that's the struggle.
And then you essentially have someone that you particularly look up to. Go look at what his or her roadmap was or their path was to their success, So, most people that have achieved a level of success did not go through an easy route. They had to do something that was, more substantial than perhaps their peers or, whoever they grew up with, So look at that, just don't look at the end product. Look at the birth of their dream and their path to that success.
Yeah, for sure. So there's another article in just keeping with our theme of life being a test and a game.
Sure.
And it said, the key to winning is managing your resources and then putting your time into the right things. And they said later on in the game, money comes up. And then your priorities, though, regardless of that money, should always align with mastering where your time goes and putting your passion first. And so what he did, he broke it down into a few areas. And I want to kind of go through these because I think when you think of a game, like I always think of like Donkey Kong or Mario Brothers and try and think simple, right? And so he broke it down into the basics, right? And second, childhood and selecting your character, right? And then third was young adult stage and leveling up. And then fourth, how do you obey your own commands? And then lastly, choosing the right task. I'm sorry, one more. Choosing the right task and then where you live. And so I want to go just to the first one of the basics, Dom, in terms of just a game, Donkey Kong, any basic game. There's always a few levels.
A lot of frustration, few levels.
Basic, right? When we think of just the basics, like what comes to mind in that game of life? Like what do you learn in that time frame, and how do younger people implement that into their thought process?
I think the basics are simply treating people the way you'd want to be treated. It's a principle that can be learned at a very, very young age. Respect. Some things that I've learned through the game of football, time management, discipline, respect. That's some of the things or some core principles that I learned at an early age, that helped me through life, So I think, but the basics to me is just treating people the way you want to be treated. Do you want to be a jerk? If somebody's been a jerk to you, do you want to be a jerk back, or do you essentially want to be a good person? At the core basis of this, I think the next one is character after that, or
Yeah, childhood or selecting your character.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'm jumping ahead, but yeah, I mean,
This is your second run through of the game, or what?
what's that?
Your second run through of the game?
Yeah, I guess, But yeah, I mean, to me, that's, a core principle in my life. Treating people the way you want to be treated. That's how I've tried to live my life, from, I can't even remember, so.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And that's something I really like about Dom too, is there's nice people out there, and then there's people that are nice about everything. Dom's not nice about everything. Dom is genuinely a nice person. He'll tell you what he thinks, and some of that may not be nice, but he's just genuinely a nice person. I think like that, to your point, that's the basics, is like regardless of what's going on in your day, what's going on in your home life, how do you just go up to someone and think in that moment, how do I make this relationship better, right? And just that basic piece of life can take you further into being punctual, into just being a person of your word.
I completely agree. The punctuality thing is huge to me. Having people, I want people to respect my time. So I'm gonna show up early, to an engagement or event. So, yeah, absolutely. And to Dom, that you still want to be treated the way, in a respectful way, so you're not going to BS anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And you wouldn't want anybody to BS you.
No,
so
but it happens.
It of course happens.
But
It of course happens.
I guess that's part of the test too. That's their test and they failed, but you passed because you didn't pass that along.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
yeah,
it, man.
it's great. It's a great point, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's all a test. People are testing you, and you're testing yourself. So who you want to win? You want to win your own tests.
Exactly.
Forget other people's tests. So childhood and selecting your character. What, and this is a hard one, what's an event for you that has defined you or helped select your character a little bit as you've grown up?
I think the people that I associate with.
Just try and pick just one event if you could.
Okay.
Like not the full support system.
Okay.
Or even like a time like when someone said something to you, or a time when you lost a game, or a time, just any one event where you're like, man, that, looking back on it, that defined me.
That's a great point. I can't think of a point right now, but that's a great question, man.
You want to tag me in, bro? I got you.
I'm gonna tag you in, man. Yeah.
All right, cool. So, for me, I could even say like it's pretty recent, because to me, there's always something you can learn from another day. from the previous day that you could get better at the next. So I could even go as far back or as soon back as I'd say last week. So I was talking to a coworker, and I'm not very good at gauging people's tones or anything. So, and I'm very defensive because of my childhood. Like I was always on the defense. So, like when people talk to me and I can't define a tone, like I have a tendency to get defensive and maybe tense up and it goes from there. But recently, like I've been getting a lot better at it. I'd say like a year and a half. So this example, I was talking to one of my coworkers and I didn't gauge the tone right, but I thought of it as condescending. And I'd say if that was me about a year and a half ago, I would have probably took it the wrong way and maybe would have snapped or said something unkind, but that just wouldn't have been me thinking. And it's just all that progression and everything that leads up to it. So I'd say as far as something that helped like that in that case, that was one of those examples.
Kind of eye-opening and how you had grown.
Yeah, to be able to, I guess the biggest thing, like all these experiences are cool and everything, but if you can't take these experiences and look back and see how you would have handled them at a previous stage in your life and seen the improvement, or if there is any improvement, you could see you've grown or you haven't grown because you're handling things the same, and that's really what you can take out of it.
I got one.
See? Perfect.
I really appreciate that, man.
I got you,
Jar
broski.
my memory. But so I was playing basketball in Forest Park. A lot of my friends were, because I went to grade school in Forest Park, and someone, we had our bikes parked, in the driveway or whatever. And somebody just walked by and just jumped on one of my friend's bikes and just took off, and I literally jumped on him. I mean, he had to be about 30 years old, I guess, And we were 12, 13, and I jumped on my bike and rode after him, and really tried to chase him down for about a mile, and then, luckily, the guy actually fell off the bike, and, I kicked the guy in the face, and I walked my friend's bike back. He took off, but, I always look back at that and like, man, I didn't have to do that. And then my friends actually, the bike that the guy stole was like, man, I really appreciate that. Nobody even stepped up to even say anything. Everybody just had a sense of awe in their face. But, my relationships are very important to me. I don't have, a slew of friends, but, the ones that I have are very dear to me. And, I protect them. And, friends, family, very important to your character, because essentially these are the folks that you kind of bounce back and forth off of, So that essentially was a character defining moment. I didn't think I had it in me because, he was so much older. Like I said, we were 12 and 13. What possessed the 12-year-old kid to do that,
So the bond, it gets deeper,
Yeah, I agree. But, just something just sparked in you. Just you wanted to defend, somebody that you cared about.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I feel that. That's respectable, man.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Man, I got a lot because I think I've screwed up a lot in my life. So I think I've learned from those. I'd say probably the most recent one was when I was at Advanced Resources, and I was trying to get the Bud Billiken Parade sponsored for Year Up. And for those of you who don't know, Advanced Resources, they were ranked number 10 on the Forbes list, top staffing firms in 2017. Really good company in terms of staffing and understanding what the mission of staffing is. Very well networked. They lack a little bit of diversity on the sales side. I think they have a lot of diversity in other areas. So I think one of the things I really try to do is bring more diversity there by implementing, just other programs or enhancing other partnerships with other companies. So I was trying to get the event sponsored for Year Up, the Bud Billiken Parade. And the first time, they passed on it, and they picked something else. They picked, going and cleaning up lakes or something. And I was really, really, I don't cry a lot. I cried to my mom because I didn't know if it was a racial thing. I didn't know if it was I didn't present it the right way. There was all this stuff going on. Like, I don't know if this is the right company for me. All this stuff went on in my head over the weekend. And I ended up talking with the owner. And I ended up talking with, and I hope you're listening, Kim Marzano. And they reinstilled some faith back in me, into the system, so to speak. Because I really felt I was doing the right thing, but the wrong thing happened, right? The wrong decision, I feel, was made. And so I didn't want to let that go. I felt I was going to continue to push for what I felt was right. So I reached out to the owner. I reached out to Kim. I reached out to Mark. Finally, we ended up getting the event sponsored. But that was a pivotal moment for me because I had to not think about what everyone was saying, and I really had to stay true to what I felt was the right thing to do. And I think it really helped me start to understand what value my word has, first off, but then how do I use that word in the best way possible? And I think that's something that really has sparked some change in me, but I think it's hopefully sparked some change in that organization too, So that's one for me. But life, man, I think it's all about doing little things to enhance your character. It's all those little things, the punctuality. That, I'll be there at this time. Okay, then you're there, right? And you're actually early. Oh, sure, I can help with that. You're the first one to volunteer.
Yeah.
I think all of those little things, those add up, and those build a person's character.
Yeah, I really hate that in the coaching world as well because I've spent a number of years in the coaching profession as well. A lot of young guys that are trying to get into the profession, it's a grind. Especially if you want to take it as far as you want to go. And the head coach uses you as a resource as an assistant coach, and essentially, if he gives you a task, you may have set responsibilities already, but it's the ones that go above and beyond that. Those are the ones that are really going to pique the interest and really get a head coach behind them to possibly endorse them to a higher position. Because at the end of the day, especially on a lower level, like a high school or even like a college level, it's all about relationships. And essentially, if you didn't give your all to that organization, how is somebody going to recommend you to another organization? And someone told me this a long time ago. Whatever job you're at is the best job that you have right now. So then treat it like that.
Yep.
And I really try to do that. I was at North Park University, and I really gave my all to that. Didn't pay much, but I really weren't doing it for the money. But I always try to see what else I can do, to help that organization, or that program, because I bought in. I really bonded with the players and the staff, and always at the coach's office. Hey, coach, you got anything for me to do? You get paid a little money, but you're spending 8-9 hours there a day. That's commitment. You really want to. I really didn't do it just to show him that I wanted to move up in the profession, because I was really just doing it for just something to do. I really never had any aspirations of coaching on the highest level like I did. Aspiring to play on a higher level. I truly just love being in that world.
Yeah.
And just be able to. Because when you on a Division III level, those guys are paying to be there. They're not on scholarship. There's no scholarships in Division III. If you get any assistance, it's through financial aid or grant money. But those guys are paying 10, 15, whatever grand to go there, and that really increased my love of the game. Once you see these guys here every day, they don't have a scholarship keeping them there.
Grinding. Yeah.
Man, just grinded, man. And I try to tell, some of my guys that aspire to be on the Division I level, it's, don't look down on these D3 guys. These guys grind just like you. They just may be a couple inches shorter than you. That's why they're not there. So, but getting back to that, like I said, that really kind of bothers me. And we talked about this before this even started. People want the end result without putting the work in. And that's not how you.
That's not how you build character.
It's not how you build character. It's not how you build a essentially, a successful life for yourself. So.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's a hard one, man. I think it's one that takes discipline. It just
That's the
takes
key.
doing it and doing
That
it
is
and
the key.
doing it, and then having that vision and then doing it some more. So,
Yeah.
so the next one is the young adult stage, right? Leveling up. What advice do you give to folks that are trying to fill their time wisely, but they don't know what they're passionate about, but they see all of this and they're trying to do it all? How do you help them prioritize a little bit better?
Wow. Well, honestly, I think if we're in the young adult stage, I mean, this is what, 19, 20, 21. I think you really need to start considering what your passion is like immediately. It's not a situation. Now, obviously, when you go to college, you have to define a major. Yeah, stuff can wait, but something that you ultimately want to do, I think that needs to be generated, 17, 18, before you could get out of high school. It's so essentially, if you are not thinking that way, you're already behind. But for someone that's having issues with that, but has defined their passion, you always have planning is essential. You can have one big goal, but if you don't have steps in place to get to that goal, that's that's not going to
It's
you
a
can't.
dream. It's just not a goal, because it's
Yeah.
not concrete.
That's exactly right. You just can't
yep.
take one huge leap to your goal. You have to have baby steps to get to your goal. So I try to get them to understand to work on accomplishing, knocking down your small little goals in order to get to your big goal.
What is it?
Life in increments.
That's it.
Yeah, life in increments. That's
Yep.
great.
Yep.
That's really great. I like that.
For sure.
Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. But yeah, that's exactly what I try to tell my guys. Our guys come to us because they want to play college football. So we try to get them to understand, well, this is XYZ what you need to do. And if you're bypassing X and Y, how the heck are you going to get to Z? So going to bed early, eating properly. Don't get me wrong, I didn't do any of this when I was their age, but I learned when I got older that if I would have done that back then, probably even would have had more success. than
Let's
what I'm doing
segue
right
there
now.
because I like what you said about some of those basics and just doing the things that you should be doing, but your mind convinces you not. As my friend Morgan Fields says it, don't let the ninja mind take over,
But then it goes
right?
back
Because
to
it'll try and
discipline,
convince you to not do the things you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And so to the next point, how do you obey your own commands? What are some things that you've done to help yourself get more disciplined?
Right. It's all incremental, So if I know staying up to 3 o'clock in the morning playing whatever is not going to help me, okay, maybe I'll try going to bed at 1 o'clock. When you really should be going to bed at like 10, 11 o'clock. So maybe I'll put the joystick down at 1 o'clock instead of my usual 3 o'clock. So that gives me 2 extra hours of sleep. Maybe continue to eat Flaming Hots 4 times a week is not helping me. Maybe I'll just cut back to 2. And once you start seeing the benefits of that, then you can start cutting back even more to what you really need to be doing.
Yeah.
You know?
So here's a quote, and I like this because I don't think people think about the magnitude of little things.
Right.
Every decision you have to make costs willpower. And decisions where you have to suppress an appealing option for a less appealing one require a lot of willpower. And that's that discipline of you want to eat a whole sandwich or you want to eat a half a sandwich. I know the whole one looks good, but you'll probably be okay if you eat the half a sandwich slower, right, and not devour it. And I think we need to get to a better state of that, of looking with our heart and not with our eyes. You know what I mean?
And that's ongoing, it's not,
Yeah.
People are struggling with that every day, something of vice or something that they perhaps should be doing a little better,
Sure.
but, as long as you recognize that there's a problem, something that you need to fix, that's the first step to me.
Right. The first step.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people that know,
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
then they're not taking action.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think the hardest step is probably to know. Second hardest one is probably just to take action and to fix it
Execute.
incrementally. And I think that's a struggle. I struggle with it. Like I've been doing this intermittent fasting, and I did that to start disciplining myself. Not because half truth. I wanted to get the six pack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to discipline my mind as well, to just not eat some days. You know what I mean? I think little things like that, like doing the P90 and sticking with it for that 90 days, like that helped discipline me mentally. And just doing the stuff you don't want to do, like, so what? You don't want to do laundry. Do it every Saturday. Stay regimented with it.
But
You know?
sorry, going back to being a young adult, in my world, even when I was younger, there were certainly things that I could have done a lot better. But when it came down to business, just as far as the game of football, I think I was pretty in tuned. Whether it was lifting, running, knowing what your assignments are. Staying out of trouble was huge. We had a lot of guys kicked out of school just because they couldn't, keep their nose clean and stay out of trouble. So I think I looked at all of that and just realized, is that going to help me reach my goal? To where I want to go, and that really helped me. It really did. Now as an older individual, I think I set smaller goals. I certainly would love a six pack. I don't know how realistic that's going to be, because it's going to take an extreme amount of work to do that. But if I can cut 5 pounds, 10 pounds, within, X amount of, weeks or whatever, hey, man, that's a win. If I can, whatever, So I certainly have lofty goals, even at the age of 41. But, I try to make sure that, according to my age and, like if I had a goal to go back to the NFL, at 41, probably not going to happen, right. But to start I really want to open a bar one day. I really want to go into local politics. That's stuff I can do, and that's stuff that I'm trying to set up a roadmap to get to eventually.
Right.
So.
Yeah, little by little, man. I think that's what it's about. Is like don't try and overexert that willpower, because I think people is what I see is like they think they can do it all right away. It's like you gotta just take a little bit at a time.
You really do. You have to be realistic with yourself. I'm going to do this today, and you don't do it. Oh, I'm going to do this, and you don't do it. Like,
People
why keep
put all these
setting
options in too. It's like, well, reduce some of those choices.
Exactly.
Take like if you're at work and you get on Facebook on that computer, maybe you should take Facebook off that computer. Just take that risk out of it, and it'll help. I think people stay more disciplined.
I agree.
So in terms of choosing the right task, I know we touched on this a little bit. What do you think is the first, aside from trying to follow that passion and have that vision, what's the first thing in choosing a right pathway? Like, what do you think someone should be thinking about as they're graduating high school? If they don't know what they want to be, they may want to play sports. Like what's the prime thing that they should be doing if they're a little lost and all over the place?
Can they do this and be happy doing it?
Say it again.
Can they do this and be happy doing it? I'd say I understand that you have to get by and you might have to take some crappy jobs that you don't want to get where you're trying to get to. But if the long-term goal isn't happiness, what are you really doing it for? Who are you doing it for?
Yeah, I'd say gain experience. Try different things. If college isn't for you, that's fine. You know, maybe try trade, maybe try doing something else. You know, I've done a lot of things. You know, after I stopped playing football, and it essentially just gave me an opportunity just to learn what, like you said, I want to do, or perhaps have another passion for, or something that excites me, or something I absolutely hate. You know, I was in sales like right after I got done playing football. I hated it, you know, but I did something else that I started to like, and then I did something else that I really liked, you know. So I just think that just if you're have an opportunity just to try different things and experience different things, you know, go ahead and do that. You're at an age, you know, young people are at an age where they can do that, and essentially, you know, no one's going to fault you for quitting, you know, because you're young. You know, I don't think a lot of people expect you to be there for the next 30 years.
Right.
You know, they go into it, well, okay, you know, he interviewed well, you know, he seems like a good person. We'll give him a try. If he doesn't work out, then, oh, well, you know, we'll find somebody else. So, you know, you go into it just learning,
Right.
you know, getting real life experience. And I think that really would help a person that's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or may not have even had the resources, you know, or the support back, you know, when they were younger. But again, you bring it back to just being a decent human being and treating people the way you want to be treated. People are going to give you an opportunity.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
And that, along with work ethic, go a long way. For
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What I'm learning and what I wish I knew earlier, and I don't really regret, because I think my past is what's given me the coarse skin that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm learning is that it's never just one thing that makes people an expert. It's normally a combination of one or two things or one or two experiences. And so I think that would be the biggest advice that I would give is go and learn, and like know that whatever you had here in this job, like you said, this is the best job you have today.
Mm-hmm.
Use that for the next job.
Mm-hmm.
That knowledge isn't going anywhere. You're gonna have it, so use it, but have your plan here.
You know, it's an awesome book. Charlemagne the God's first book. Awesome book. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Maybe somebody can Google it. Gosh,
I got you.
Charlemagne the God.
yeah, it's an awesome book. You know, he talks a lot about, you know, how the trials and tribulations that he went through, and you know, talking directly to young people. You know, and you know, he talks about a lot about how, you know, when he went into the job, he did the best that he could, showed up to work on time, you know, did his responsibilities.
Black
And-
privilege.
Black privilege. That's right.
Come
That's exactly
those who
right.
create
'Cause
it.
yeah, the second one is Shook Ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that talks more about mental health. Yeah, that's right. But that is an awesome book to read for young people. It is an awesome book. You know, for someone that's, you know, just trying to figure it out. He basically said he had no idea he was going to get in the radio. But he took a job that was available. He had a little daughter he had to feed. He took a job that was available in radio. And he figured out he just loved doing radio. And he went from job to job. He said when he got fired for the job, he thanked the person, the hiring person or the producer, thank you for the opportunity. And he went on and found something else. He didn't MF anybody. He didn't, you know, talk bad about anybody. He just said thank you for the opportunity and just left. You know, having that approach is awesome, you know, because you don't burn bridges, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, work ethic is essential. You know, when you go into a job, you got to make sure you're professional with it, you know, being on time, dress appropriately, whatever the job entails. You know, just not doing dumb stuff on a job, you know.
You gotta want to strive to be the best. I had a guy I was talking to today in this group of 10 or 11, and he worked at a pizza spot. And I was asked, you know, you like it? He's like, it's all right. I was like, well, what are you passionate about? And I don't think he knew, but then I also asked him, well, who's the hardest worker there? Right away, he knew the guy's name. I said, well, why is he?
Wasn't that you?
He moves fast. He moves with a sense of urgency. How long he's been there? About 30 years. You think he's passionate about pizza? Yup. Like, have you ever looked to see what he does that makes him better and try and mirror it? Oh, I never thought about that. Why not? Why aren't young people going into organizations and trying to find the best worker and trying to be better than them, because I think that they have a sense of pride, right, in an environment that they feel like they're not ready for that yet, but then they feel like they're too good for that. So it's, I think, this balance of how do I go into a new environment and try and be better than the best, but how do I also go into a new environment and be modest enough to know when to say I don't know something and when to ask for help, you know? I think that's a tough balance as students try and immerse themselves into the workforce, you know?
Yeah, and also when you see that, you see the amount of time and effort they put into it. Don't try to bastardize it and, you know, try to circumvent the work that they did. Well, if I just do it this way, I can get the same result, but just quicker. You know, it don't work like that, man. It really don't. You know, there's hard work, dedication. That's all the essentials that you need to be successful in life.
And it's like we were talking about from the beginning, the you know, it's just not just you in this world by yourself. It's like it's you, and then there's the other world, and how do you separate it? It's, well, you can do what everyone else is doing, but add your unique self to it. Make it something that stands out, and only you can be you. So, I mean, obviously, you can make it unique in your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. And I left this one specifically for last because of just the demographic and the neighborhoods and the communities that I'm really trying to go after. It's the ones that don't have the resources that a great city like this has. You can go 13 miles south and there's nothing. There's liquor stores, there's gas stations. That's about it. And so the last piece to this game is where you live and how crucial that is. I think that if you look at, and let's just look at it as a male and female thing. Women can be from certain areas of the world and not be allowed to do certain things, right? It's very similar here with certain races. It's changing, but you can look at corporate America, and you can look at the fact that up top, there's very few people of color, right? Down low, there's a lot, right? But what's preventing those people from going in, learning, getting mentored and coached, and moving up? What do you think? Do you think it's where they live and where they're coming from? Or do you think it's something else?
Well, I think that it's more so a young person may not take advantage of the various options that are out there. So, for instance, you go into a trade, electrician, pipe fitter. Those guys are making six figures. You know, they're making pretty good living for themselves. Yeah, they're not on, you know, the board of trade, you know, making, you know, 500 grand or whatever. But, you know, you can live a dope life, you know, just going into, you know, your blue collar stuff. You know, I think a lot of our youth see sports, entertainment as their way out, but statistically that's not true. You know, you have absolutely more opportunities by getting, you know, by looking into some other avenues to change your situation other than sports. Like, I don't preach my guys going to the NFL. Don't get me wrong, NFL's great. It was a great experience for me, but if only a small fraction of people get to do that, try something else, you know, and your demographic. Now, what's happened a lot in the schools is the trades are taken out of the schools. That's what's really hurting our kids, and that's the setback in it, because you go to Lombard, East and Lombard, I mean, they got a whole, you know, iron worker shop. They got all types of resources.
Mechanics, all that. Yeah.
They got all of that stuff, you know. So that's what's really missing out of our schools right now. You know, just alternative options other than, you know, even going to college.
Yeah.
You know, because college is a lot of money. You know, and essentially, if you don't have the educational background or the athletic prowess, you are going to be taking out student loans. So I encourage people not to do that, or at least don't take an exorbitant amount of money out on student loans. There's a lot of opportunities out here in the trades, and with the baby boomer generation, getting older and entering retirement age, there's a lot of those jobs open, and a lot of those jobs that are paying a lot of money, but demographically, that's what's really missing out of the schools, taking those resources and those options out of the schools, and that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. And that's tough, man.
And you need
bring
that stuff.
The real world.
Yeah, you need people like that. You need engineers. You need pipe fitters. You need electricians. You need people that are going to help fix our crumbling infrastructure out here. Because who the heck's going to do it?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on. It's great to hear someone that's been at an elite status and kind of hear what they went through, hear what some of that advice is, because I think a lot of people aspire to get to that status. Everyone ain't going to make it. My dad always said, so my brother is about to run for Congress, and my dad always said, everyone ain't going to make it to the White House. This is true. Everyone is not going to make it to the league. You know what I mean? So what do you do to have a fallback plan, a plan B? There are a lot of things in sports medicine, sports management, sports therapy, sports analysis. There's a ton of things that you can do that are sports related. There's a ton of things you can do music related, dance related, entertainment related that aren't being a rapper and being a singer, right? And I think that
they need to see more of that, because there's nothing wrong with with the entertainment business or sport business, but there's so many different dynamics and so many different pieces to putting that on that a lot of these kids, most of these kids, don't understand.
That's it.
I mean, the guy writing the rapper's checks, that's who you want to.
I'd love to be that dude. I'd be that accountant.
The guy that can pay Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what it's at, man. And like, that's for those of you that have stuck with this from the beginning, episode 1. We've transitioned a lot into what our mission is. We do have a date set for our first event, September 1st. So I'm excited. Be ready to hear a lot more about that. I'm looking at a couple of spots tomorrow to lock down a location. To that point, that's what we want to do. We want to bring the resources to the communities that lack in a different way, in a way that can inspire them, that can inspire us, and as Cesar said it, that can erase stereotypes. I think that's the end goal, is to get people to change the way that they think about each other.
I'd simply like to see the people that have made it out of those circumstances just come back and just buy back in those neighborhoods. Gentrification is huge in the Midwest. And, a lot of us that are essentially making it out of here, need to come back and reinvest, in their childhood communities. If you see more of that, I think you'll see more growth.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few job fairs coming up. They're next week, the 8th, called Scribe America, and it is at the Sheraton Chicago Northbrook Hotel, which is 1110 Willow Road, Northbrook. Another one will be Monday, June 10th, and that will be at the Holiday Inn, Rolling Meadows, 3405 Algonquin Road, Rolling Meadows. There is also one on that day at Hyatt Regency, which is in Schaumburg. That one's the Chicago Northwest Job Fair. And then there's the Edison Job Fair, June 11th, which is in Schaumburg at the Radisson Hotel. And there's the Chicago South Job Fair, which is in Tinley Park, on Tuesday, June 11th. I'll post this up on the site. I will be at a job fair next week, the 13th, with Greater Inglewood Community Development Center. So Purpose Workforce will have a booth up there, so definitely come out and see us. I will remind everyone of that one next Tuesday. a good show. You know, life is a game and a test, and I want to be a winner, and I want to win the test. So the hard part is the preparation and the discipline that comes along with that preparation and the vision that you align that preparation and that discipline with. And so if you're having a tough time trying to uncover what that passion is, we want to be here for you. We all know a lot of people. We know a lot of mentors, a lot of coaches. So reach out to us. We'll be here. And remember, if you don't put your passion first, it's hard to follow your dreams. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good night.